After the major refresh, is the Chase Sapphire Preferred Card still competitive in 2026? Today we'll do a full review starting with the intro bonus, then moving to the multipliers, including new ones, and then other benefits of the card. Big favor thumbs up to help with the algorithm. If you know someone that will benefit from the card, then share this with them. Let's start with the intro bonus. For a lot of people, this is a very compelling reason to get the card. The standard offer is 75k bonus points after you spend 5k on purchases in the first 3 months from account opening. There is a limited time offer right now though for 100k bonus points for that same spend in that same period, so 25k more. The value of Chase points varies by how you plan to use them. You're going to get 1 cent per point, so 1 penny per point for cash back into your Chase account or as a statement credit. If you're into travel, Points Boost is worth looking into. This is when you book hotels through the Chase travel portal, and with the Chase Sapphire Preferred Card, you can get up to 1.5x. It is only on some hotels and select airlines, so the value here might be lower. Best case though is up to 1.5 cents per point. On the top level is expert mode, so transferring your Chase points to airline partners. These transfer at a 1-to-1 rate, and the goal would be business or first class. This is a huge rabbit hole, and I'll do some examples later, but let's start off a simple one. Let's say you transfer from Chase to Air Canada Aeroplan. You could use Aeroplan to book LAX to Incheon, or let's say Chicago to Taipei. For LA to Korea, it's 85k points for business, and then about $55 USD in fees. There's 9 seats available, and this is using Air Canada to book OZ, which is Oceania, and it's in the A380, so a pretty solid product. There are better partners for ANA first class, but that's an option here as well at 90k. This is a pretty great flight and worth trying at least once in your life, and for 90k points or about 900 in cash back, it's a pretty cool experience. The value is pretty insane if you use the sticker price. Even as a round trip and then prorating it, you're looking at about $10,000 per way. A lot of rich people and business owners happily pay that, but I'd rather use 900 in cash back in points. For transfer partners, I target 2 cents per point as my hurdle rate, and it's pretty consistent with my would pay number. Breaking everything down, that means you're looking at $750 to $1,500 in value for a 75k intro bonus. If you factor in the 5k minimum spend requirement, that's 15 to 30% return on spend. With the 100k limited time offer, that's $1,000 to $2,000 in value and 20 to 40% return on spend. If you can finish the minimum spend, you're getting a ton of value, whether for travel or cash back. Reminder that Chase does have rules for intro bonuses. A big one is that new card member bonuses might not be available to you if you've previously held this card or received a bonus for it. They also did add a checker, which is nice. This is for all their core cards right now, and if you are ineligible, they won't process the application and there won't be a credit hit. That means that if you're not sure, you can apply and they'll let you know. On a side note, if you are someone that wants to learn about cards, whether this one or pretty much any other card out there, and you want to support the channel, we have links on the website, AskSebby.com, and also down below in the description box. Make sure the links are competitive, that the cards make sense for you, but otherwise it's a huge way to support the channel, so thank you in advance. Okay, beyond the intro bonus, the card also does come with competitive multipliers. We'll get into this, but be careful not to overvalue some of them. Starting from the top, you're going to get 5x points on Chase Travel and 3x points on dining. This sounds good, and it's not bad at all, but you can also get the same multipliers on some no annual fee cards, like the Chase Freedom Unlimited or the Chase Freedom Flex. Especially if you are building out a Chase setup, these might not move the needle as much as you'd like. Oh, also if you are new to the Chase ecosystem, cash back on these cards are actually tracked as points, and each $1 is 100 points. We'll get into it with the superpowers, where you can transfer from these cards to the Chase Sapphire Preferred Card to then transfer to partners to book work travel. If not for dining or travel, what's this card good for? You're going to get 3x points on gas stations and EV charging. It doesn't sound like a big deal, but it is a big weak spot for a lot of setups. And obviously it does depend on where you live, but it can be a big fixed cost for a lot of people. Another big one, and also a new one, is 3x on vacation homes at top brands. At the moment, this includes Airbnb, Vrbo, and a bunch of other ones. Most of the other cards, even from other issuers, have hotels and flights, but not travel broadly, meaning that Airbnb is left in the dust. If your go-to method of travel is Airbnb, then this might be a must-get card for you for 2026. Other interesting categories include 3x on top streaming services. Current partners here include stuff like Apple Music and TV, Disney+, Hulu, Netflix, and pretty much everything you'd expect. I do think that this multiplier tends to be overvalued. Even as someone that's chronically online, my prorated number is probably about $35, maybe $40. My mains being Netflix, HBO Disney Plus bundle, and YouTube Plus. Next, we have 3x points for online groceries, which might be valuable. Reminder that this does not include Target or Walmart and wholesale clubs like Costco. Same thing with pharmacies and supermarkets. For the last two, it depends on your setup. So 2x on all other travel isn't bad if you're solely running a Chase setup, but 1x on everything else doesn't really matter. If you are comfortable mixing in a no annual fee city card that offers 2% on everything, then that could be 2x points. Otherwise, if you are running a Chase setup, then the Chase Freedom Unlimited offers 1.5% on everything. That means that the 2x can still be viable, but the 1x doesn't really matter. With that said, how you value the points determines the value of the multipliers. If we map everything out at 1 cent per point, you're looking at 1% to 5% in value. Using up to 1.5 cents per point, that'd be 1.5 to 7.5%. At 2 cents per point as a target, then we're looking at 2% to 10%. Focusing on the key ones, then we're looking at 3% to 6%, which isn't bad at all and is pretty competitive. Also, if this is confusing, we do have a calculator where you can punch in your numbers and you can enter how you value points and your spend, and it also tells you the expected value for year one and also long term. I'll link it down below, and it should also pop up if you Google AskSebby CSP worth it. Okay, so in terms of the annual fee and credits, it feels like a fair card. There is a $95 annual fee, and the primary offsetting tool is up to 100 installment credits each account anniversary year for hotel stays purchased through Chase Travel. I think you can slightly discount this, but Chase Travel is pretty fair. Some people will swear that the prices are horrible and it's just bad value. Oftentimes though, those people are looking at different rates, so for example, refundable versus non-refundable. With some of the other complaints, it might also be a function of taxes and fees being counted. There is a workaround here, but let's start with a live example. Looking for a random hotel in the next 6 months, we have the Hoxton in Chicago for November 10th. Pretty cool looking hotel and interesting vibes. On Chase Travel, the cheapest room is the Snug Room, and it's $419 a night, and with taxes and fees all in is $527. The rate that they have is the refundable one by November 8th, 2026. So even though the stay is November 10th, you can cancel by November 8th by 5:59 p.m. to get a full refund, so 2 days beforehand. Okay, let's search online and we want to beat 527. Looking at reputable options, the top line number is 444, and let's go through booking.com. For the first page, we have 444, and then selecting room type, we still have 444. Only on the third page, the payments page, do we see the jump up to 527, and that's what we're working with. And to be fair, it can be hit or miss, like any marketplace, and you'd want to shop around. Also, sometimes other platforms want to get rid of inventory. For example, let's look at Priceline, which is dramatically cheaper at $333. Pressing into it though, the super cheap rate is the non-refundable one, and fully refundable is the same $444 that we're seeing everywhere else. Which one makes more sense depends on how you travel. Maybe I'm a bit crazy, but I do change my plans a decent amount of time, and I cancel things all the time. Even with the recent Chicago trip, we changed our minds a few times on hotels, and then rebooked for a second Chicago trip since we liked it so much. Okay, so for the workaround, if there is a price difference and it's the same room type, they do have a price match guarantee, which is solid. You do need to submit the information for a claim and they refund the difference. There also are a lot of rules, so you need to do it within the first 24 hours, and the lower rate has to have the same cancellation and refund policy, and it also can't be a promotional rate, let's say AAA or military. But yeah, otherwise doing the price match means you get the best of both worlds. Going to the less tangible perks, we have complimentary Apple TV when activated by December 31st, 2026, and the max value being $156. There's also 200 plus in additional partner perks. This includes a benefit of DoorDash and elevated multipliers for Peloton and Lyft with different end dates. If you value those, then perfect, but I'd be careful here. Outside of the basics, the card also has superpowers. To me, there's two big ones. Unsurprisingly, the card does have a lot of insurance and protections, including trip cancellation and interruption, trip delay, travel accident, lost luggage, also baggage delay and emergency evacuation and transportation. One that's less common though is primary CDW. A lot of other cards in the same annual fee range provide secondary coverage. Here it's primary, and if you rent cars when you travel, this can add up. For example, it can easily run $15 to $40 per day, and for a rental that's 3 or 4 days, you might already cover the annual fee. The other superpower is transferring to partners, and airlines being the primary use case for this card. The transfer rate is 1-to-1, so 1,000 points would be 1,000 points. This is going to be with all the airline partners, so if you do run a setup with the Chase Freedom Unlimited, you can transfer to this card and then transfer out to airlines. You don't have to transfer to partners, but I'd argue that that's where the value is. Okay, so with that said, let's speed run some of the partners. Let's start with JetBlue. Using JetBlue points for JetBlue flights intuitively makes sense, but that's not really where the value is. Often for these domestic flights and economy, you're only going to get 1.3 to 1.5 cents per point. And ironic enough, for JetBlue Mint, so their business class, the value actually decreases, generally down to 1.1 to 1.2 cents, so even worse. With most other programs, it's the opposite, where you get more value for business, but not really the case here. So instead of using JetBlue to book JetBlue, you'd want to use JetBlue to book with their partners. One of the best ones being Qatar, and for example, first class might be 88,000 points and $44 in fees. This is Boston to Doha to Abu Dhabi. There's 4 seats here, so pretty easy. You have a long flight and a good product, so a great excuse to enjoy it. Mind you, first is often harder to find, but business is pretty easy. So for example, doing a fast search, a lot of availability that showed up even an hour ago, and this is from Dallas-Fort Worth, Boston, JFK, and Atlanta. For example, Dallas to Doha has 83k points and about $8 in fees. 2 seats available and pretty good for a 14-hour flight. For Aeroplan, we ran through at the top, but best use case of Aeroplan is not Aeroplan, it's with their partners. In their case, Star Alliance. For example, Boston to JFK to Europe for 60k points. Let's say New York to Geneva, Switzerland in Swiss business for 60k and 50 something in fees, and there's 7 seats. Next one being Air France, KLM Flying Blue, and Europe's the best bet, but you do want to watch out for fees. On the surface, 60k is great, but pressing into it, let's say you do Portland to Amsterdam, this is through KLM, you have 60k points, but $340 in fees. It might still make sense depending on where you want to fly and the product, but just be cautious. Aer Lingus, British Airways, and Iberia all earn Avios, which are transferable within the Avios ecosystem and a little bit complicated. Each one has its own rules and use cases, but you can freely move them, so not too hard. For example, Finnair is another Avios one, and a good use case would be the US to Helsinki in their business class, 62.5k and 172 in fees, but yeah, Avios is almost its own little rabbit hole. Finnair Business has the first no recline business class seat, and it's pretty comfortable, good food, friendly service, and I'd do it again. Last time we did it was from Helsinki to Korea, so going directly from the US is a lot easier. Next one, Singapore, and the main draw is flying Singapore using their award chart. What you want to do is find saver rates, which are going to be a bit cheaper. They have a zone system, Zone 1 Singapore, and there are a bunch of other zones in between. Zone 11 is Europe, Zone 12 is the US West, Zone 13, US East. Let's say you want to go between Zone 1 and Zone 13, so New York to Singapore, that's going to be 156k for first class. It is a lot of points, but it's also pretty much the only way you can do Singapore first, at least with points. It is a bit over the top and not everyone's cup of tea, but often worth trying at least once in your life. Also, if you are in a pair, a lot of people like to do the connected mode to enjoy the time in the air. Your mileage may vary, but I feel like that's well worth 1,500 in cash back worth of points. If you're on team economy, Southwest isn't bad, but don't expect crazy value. Generally, you're getting 1.3 to 1.4 cents per point, and the value is pegged against the retail price. So 100k is about 13 to 1,400 in Southwest flights. Good for families if you are doing more domestic stuff. If you're willing to add other cards, United isn't a bad program. The default rate you're looking at for a saver price is 110k, so here's Chicago to Taipei and EVA Business. The issue though is you can find the same flight with Air Canada, and that's 85k compared to 110k. If you're willing to add other cards, it knocks it down from 110k to 100k, but I think most people would still pick 85k. It just depends on availability and also why you'd want to shop around. The last one is Virgin Atlantic Flying Club, the main draw being ANA Business and also first class. The benefit of this program is that it's probably the cheapest way to book ANA's premium cabins. The disadvantage is availability and why Air Canada and United might make more sense in some cases. In terms of prices, you're looking at 52.5k from the Western US and 60k from Central and Eastern US for business. For first class, it's 72.5k and 85k respectively, which is still very good. But yeah, lots of upside with transfer partners. It just depends on whether it's worth your time to learn it. I realize that some people, especially business owners and 7-figure earners, just pay out of pocket and call it a day because it's not worth their time, and that's fair. For a lot of normal people, points offer outsized value and a way to try something that would be prohibitively expensive. The benefit of bank points is that you can pick and choose your spots, so best case, spend the points on a first class flight with player 2, sip some very expensive champagne, and make some great memories. Worst case, cash back in your bank account, especially from a strong intro bonus, doesn't really hurt either. Again, if you want to learn more about cards, we have links on the website, AskSebby.com, and also down below in the description box. And if you're curious, all legal affiliate disclosures can also be found below in the description box. If you made it to this point, leave a champagne or clinking glass emoji in the comments down below, and I'll try to heart it and also respond. 3 questions. Number 1, which of the multipliers do you care about? Number 2, do you think the annual fee is fair given the credits? Number 3, how do you plan to use your points? Let me know and everyone else know in the comments down below. Big favor, thumbs up, share this, but otherwise hope you liked it. See you next time.